Hello and welcome back to Sketch of the Day. Today we're going to continue with our practice on perspective sketching. I'm still going to be sticking with the 1-point perspective today. Eventually I would like to introduce some 2-point perspectives, maybe even a 3-point perspective down the road. They get a little bit trickier, so since we're still working on the basics, I want to stick with a 1-point just for now. So we're going to be drawing the shape you see right here. It's not a huge jump up from yesterday's practice, but it is a little bit more complex, so we'll see how we handle the multiple levels of depth in this one when all of our depth lines are headed off into the distance towards the vanishing point. So it helps to first put your vanishing point on the drawing. I'm going to put mine way up here near the top corner. And then we need to draw the front view. The front view is going to be just the shape that is the most forward on the object. So since I have one shape that is furthest to the front and I have another front-facing shape a little further back, I'm going to leave that one off for right now. So the big square is all that you're putting down to start with. Now the object that you see on your screen is in what we call isometric. All of the depth lines are parallel to each other. All of the width lines are parallel to each other. All of the height lines are parallel to each other. And that's one type of pictorial drawing, and it's useful for its own purposes. But for perspective drawings, if we're trying to get that perspective optical illusion that makes it look like it's getting smaller as it gets farther away from us, we need to change the style of that a little bit. So this is here for your reference, so you can see what that shape is supposed to look like. But when it comes time to draw those depth lines, we're going to have to draw those back towards our vanishing point. And you might also notice that the width lines, instead of being up at an upward angle, are being drawn horizontally. That's fine, as long as they're all drawn horizontally. So from the front corners of my square, I can start to draw depth lines, but keep them very light for right now. Not all of these depth lines are going to be permanent, so we want to have the option to erase them easily. Leave your depth lines light for now. So the top edge is not going to be interrupted by the smaller shape. So I can choose my depth for that shape. Again, I'm trying for a cube shape, so I'm going to try to visually estimate how far back that line should go to give me a cube. And now I can darken up those depth lines, again sticking with the angle that I just put down, the angle that goes towards that vanishing point. I'm going to fill in those depth lines and establish the top surface of my object. Now, I want to very lightly put in a height line back here, but again, construction line, because that's not going to be permanent. I need to draw my smaller square shape in here. So I'm going to have to erase some of those construction lines. I just need that for reference right now. So about halfway back on this depth line from the front corner to the back corner, about halfway, I need to stop. So I can darken it up to that point and then stop. That would make the front corner of my smaller square shape. And just like the rest of my object, my height lines will be vertical, my width lines will be horizontal. So I'm going to set the height here be about half of the height of the whole shape. I'm going to set my width line to be just about the same length. I have another height line, I have another width line. So my front-facing surface on my smaller square is still front-facing just like this square was. Nothing's at an angle here yet. I have my vertical and horizontal lines for the front of that smaller cube shape. Now this has given me some new edges to deal with. I've got these 3 edges right here. All of them get depth lines, and all of those depth lines go back toward the vanishing point. So again, light construction lines. I don't have to take them all the way back to the vanishing point as long as I take them back far enough that I get my object edges out of them. And now notice how this construction line that I put down earlier, my vertical height line for the back edge of the part, that just intersected with this depth line for the smaller cube. So I know that that point is where these two edges will meet. I can darken those two segments up now. And that corner is also where my horizontal width line for the back edge of the small cube belongs. So I can start there and take it straight over. And as I put these lines in, each time I reach the end of a new segment, it tells me where I can begin the next one. So I can darken up some of these lines that are permanent now, and I can erase some of the construction lines that fall inside, and I want to erase my perspective lines right where they touch my object. Leave the rest of them on there so that when I go through and take a look later, I can see that you used the technique of creating depth lines in perspective. But for now, we've got a nice 1-point perspective sketch of our 2-cube object. Go ahead and sign it and date it, and sketch of the day is complete.